Hi, this is Mr. Cordes, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to identify our pieces of textual evidence for our most dangerous game writing. We've been working on this story for quite some time, and we are to the point now where we are able to do our writing based upon what we feel comfortable with, based upon where we feel like we have the most writing, the most ideas. We have done a ton of preliminary activities that will help us. So for you right now, we need to decide what you're going to write about, okay? There was the option, and I'm going to kind of go back and forth between screens, so pause or go slower on the speed if you need to. We started off with this activity where we identified how both characters were savage and civil, okay? Both characters exude some sort of civility. They also exude some sort of savageness. Like there's components to both, okay? Ransford kind of transitions. General Zaroff kind of goes back and forth. He's two-faced in that manner. So that is one of your very first paper topics. You get to write how General Zaroff is both savage and civil at the same time. Okay, so that's one of your topics if you would like to select that one. So you would be able to use all of this information right here about how General Zaroff is savage and civil at the same time. Okay. If you don't want to write about General Zaroff and you want to write about Ransford, what you are going to be doing is you are going to be identifying how Ransford goes from reason to instinct. Okay. How does he transition from going to the hunter, the civilian, kind of the pompous gentleman that he is, and then kind of moves into this survival protective animal who uses instinct all the time. Okay. How is that transition? What is that transition like? So you are identifying in Ransford what that shift is. Okay. And it's not that one topic is better than the other. You are simply identifying different traits within the characters. General Zaroff is savage and civil at the same time. Ransford uses reason and instinct. Okay? That's what you get to write about. So you take a moment and decide if you want to write about General Zaroff or if you want to write about Ransford. Looking at these two activities that we did, this one right here, and then the one I just showed you, looking at those two, identify which do you feel more confident with, because that will show in your writing. So if you pick this one because you want to write about Ransford, but you struggled putting this one together, it may not be your best option because we don't have all of the information and we're not 100% sure about our analysis. And that's fine. You guys get to pick. Okay. Now, in the Google Classroom, you will find both sets of body paragraphs. However, you are only selecting one. So when you go over to the classroom, it's going to look something like this, where there's tons of papers. Okay, there's the most dangerous game, General Zaroff, civil and savage, and then there's the most dangerous game, Ransford, reason to instinct. Please select and click on the one that you are going to do. I'm going to pick this one, which showcases how General Zaroff is civil and savage at the same time. Okay. Now, everything here, let me pause. If you've selected General Zaroff, this is what your body paragraphs will look like. If you've selected reason to instinct, this is what your body paragraphs will look like. So you'll notice this is here for reason. This one here is for instinct. On the other one, you have this one is here for civilized, and this one here is for savage. Okay. The web off the word words will come in handy when we do our commentary. Okay. You will also notice that on both sets of paragraphs, there is a context sentence. I'm going to explain the context sentence in a future video at a time. We're not worrying about that right now. Right now, our goal is to get two sentences into place, and that's the textual evidence. We need to find the best, strongest piece of evidence for how General Zaroff is civilized and put that into that spot. We need to find how the best piece of concrete detail for how General Zaroff is savage. Now, the great thing is, ladies and gentlemen, is that on our, on our pieces of paper, you gave me 6 examples. So the great thing is you get to select which out of these 3 is the strongest. Which out of these 3 would you feel comfortable writing about? Okay, so that's your goal for today. If you're writing about General Zaroff, you've got your hand raised for General Zaroff, you identify one piece of textual evidence for how he's civilized, one piece of textual evidence for how he's savage, and you're going to place it into that textual evidence box here. Okay, make sure that they're in the appropriate spot. A couple times before, people aren't paying attention and they've got a civilized example for how he's, like, you got to pay attention to what you're doing. Okay. So if you've made it all the way through that and you're like, well, that's great, I'm working with Ransford, you're going to do the same thing. For Ransford, you'll notice we need to find a piece of textual evidence for how he shows reason. Okay. If you are talking about Ransford and how he's showing instinct, you need to talk about what is the best option for that. What is that best piece of textual evidence for how he shows instinct? Okay, so we're going to come over here to this graphic organizer, and we're able to pull from this column, kind of this row right here, the pieces of textual evidence. Okay, so looking at this, in the beginning of the story, you could either use this one right here or this one right here for how he shows reason, and then select one of these 3 for how he shows instinct. And you're going to take that quote, you're going to take that piece of textual evidence, you're going to take that concrete detail, and you're going to put it into the appropriate box. Okay? And again, that's all we're doing. Today, we are literally just finding the pieces of textual evidence, deciding which one we want to do, and sticking it into the appropriate slot. Okay? I will tell you more about the commentary, the context sentences, concluding sentences, topic sentences, all in a future video next week. But right now, this is the component for you to make sure that you've got the best quality piece of textual evidence. And remember, whatever you pick, that's what you're going to write around. Okay? So don't just pick one and you're like, okay, whatever, and you don't understand the context of the story, because our commentary is based on it. The context sentence is based on it. And then obviously your topic sentence and your concluding sentences will kind of bring it all together based upon the theme word that you're discussing in that paragraph. Okay. So message me if you have any questions or concerns. Super easy for us today to find textual evidence and put it into the appropriate spot in our body paragraphs. Okay. Message me if you have any concerns. I'll talk to you guys soon.